Yes. And as you know, when Chinese scientists, actually they did it here in Stockholm at the Karolinska Institute, they investigated, I think it was mice, and the effect on the brain of cell phone radiation. And then they found in certain areas cell damage, as a nerve cell damage in the brain of these animals, as well as cell death. Nerve cells had died, and in areas that are classically connected to memory, for instance. And memory is very important for coping with tendencies of aggression. You need to remember that, yeah, I should not react like that. Otherwise, you become more an instinct-driven animal, and you will, if someone pokes the bear, immediately react and slam back. Whereas a human being would remember, no, no, I'm not supposed to smack a child, for instance. And it seems to be more and more disconnected in that sense. And so there are different factors that have a role here, really. And it's important to keep an eye out, yes.
Yes. Prof, if I can just speak from personal experience, when I'm exposed to EMF, initially I'm okay in the sense that the symptoms are not overwhelming so that I'm debilitated. But you feel uncomfortable and you can feel something is not right, and you don't know where it's coming from. And what my husband always says is the moment he sees I become difficult, or if he asks me a question, I give him a very short answer or an abrupt answer, he knows we need to, something is on, somewhere that's affecting me. He picks it up first on my behavior. And I feel anxious, frustrated, irritated, and I don't always know why. And it's only once I've started understanding electrohypersensitivity that I'm able to make that link, and I can immediately then say, okay, let's just quickly figure out what's going on here. Maybe there's somebody close to me busy with the Wi-Fi, or what I pick up now that gets to me a lot is smartwatches. If I talk to somebody who's wearing a smartwatch, I feel it. I feel shocks in my neck, and my body responds. Bluetooth, I'm very sensitive to Bluetooth. I think personally that's what happens with children, is they feel the discomfort and they don't know how to express it. And then they express it through behavioral problems, because it's the only way they can. Now I've got a fly that I just want to get rid of. Can you see the fly going past or not? Is it?
But Davida, at the very, very early days, in the mid or beginning of the 1980s, we slowly realized that from skin biopsies of electrohypersensitive people, it was obvious that if you should compare them to anything, it looked as if they had a massive flu going on in their body. And when you have a flu, you get very irritated, you get light sensitive, and you get a lot of sort of reactions that are not normally seen. And you want to withdraw in a dark room and just lie down and forget about everything. And that we saw in the skin biopsies. And actually, from the beginning, I think we talked about that some other time, we didn't realize what we were looking at until there was a medical doctor who came into our laboratory for another reason. We didn't tell him anything. We were looking at micrographs from our microscopes, and he saw skin biopsies being photographed, and he pointed at them and said, "Oh, you are looking at severe flu patients." And I said, "What? How can you say that?" And then he explained that the number of dendritic cells in the dermis, they was extremely increased in number, and the way they looked. So he said, "Oh, this is a typical flu image." And I said, "Well, actually, these are not flu patients. They are healthy from that point of view, but they have something called electron hypersensitivity." I I remember he looked very oddly at me and said, "Oh, I've heard about that." And then he went out. So he didn't maybe be so impressed by what we were doing, but it opened a very important door